come prepared. That fixed that. At 6:30. All right, 6:30, if I could have your attention. I think Chairman Campbell had a good opening to the utility board meeting. We're going to do that thing as well. I'd like to recognize, I had the opportunity, honor today, to attend 3 different veteran services at schools. So we're going to recognize our veterans in here this evening too. So if you're a veteran, would you please stand and let us recognize you. We're going to open our meeting. We don't normally do this with the workshop. We're going to open it with the pledge, and Councilman Brewster is going to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, veterans, for your service. First item on the agenda is citizens' input. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council about anything that's on the agenda or anything that's on your mind tonight? Be glad to hear it. Okay, no one this time. Okay, items for consideration. Loudon County Economic Development Agency, the Sugarloaf Industrial Park property.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for having me tonight. In your packet, we have a couple of properties in the Sugarloaf Industrial Park that I'd like to present. The first property is approximately 13 acres. I have a prospect that's looking to purchase this land at a rate of $20,000 for the total 13 acres. Kind of put this in perspective, this is right across from the Dell complex off of Henry Drive. Going to the next slide. The other property in front of you is Floyd's easement. It's also is 24 acres. This is right behind the Malibu manufacturing plant. They are looking. They would also like to purchase this lot for $30,000. So with that, I would ask for your consideration. Both properties have been through the Sugarland and Loudon Industrial Park Committee and have approved these for. They made a recommendation to move forward with the sale. Item B kind of ties in with item A here. If you look up there at the kind of the peninsula, if you will, where those moles are stored, that section of land is actually in the TVA flood easement. And so in order for them to build a parking lot, they had to go through a deed modification in order to achieve that. That is part of this sale as well. There's no additional cost to the city. That's just, they have endured those costs as part of this project.
Okay, I think Manager Ross has took everyone on a field trip to view these properties, correct? Manager Ross, everyone has seen the property we're talking about?
Yes, sir. For everyone's education, we've taken visits to the site so that everyone can lay eyes on it.
Okay, so
As you know, this property, additional information, this property is part of the Sugarloaf Industrial Park. It was a joint venture between the county and the city, and the county has approved the sale of this property.
so this money will be split between the two.
That's correct, 50/50.
Okay.
Was it my understanding there's some back rent due on it? At least?
It's my understanding as well that there is a current lease upon the property, and in Mr. Quall's discussions through EDA with economic development clients, the thinking was that the investment made to modify the flowage easement, which far exceeded the rental amount, could be worked out and in final resolution in the sales contract.
Okay, that's correct.
Okay, any other questions for Director Qualls? So you covered both A and B here.
Yes, sir.
Any questions about either one of those? Okay, so that'll be on the agenda for our approval next week. Okay, I guess we just leave you up there for the next one.
Okay.
Qualls, riverfront property.
Riverfront property, got a map right there in front of you. Previous meeting was LUB at 4:30 today. Basically, we talked about a segment of the riverfront property here inside this blue area that's approximately 2.5 acres. I have a client that's interested in making a substantial investment to Loudon, create about 50 jobs. During negotiations, we have asked for that land to be donated to this prospect. There will be no pilots or any other incentives as part of this project.
So the recommendation is to let the Industrial Development Board.
That's the mechanism to donate.
To donate.
That's correct. It will go to Industrial Development Board from LCB to Industrial Development. May have to come to this board, comes to the city, and then goes to the IDB.
Okay.
And that's how that mechanism will work.
If it does go to IDB, the project fails or don't go through, does it then go back to the utility?
That's correct. We will put clawback provisions in that contract that specifies that if there's not construction take place in a certain amount of time, then yes, it will come back to the utility.
Any other questions? Everyone sees the property we're talking about? In that? Okay, so that'll be on the agenda for next week as well. Next item is the Community Development Block Grant. Andrew Ross?
Yes, we've got several grant opportunities going on, and we conducted a survey of incomes inside the city of Loudon this past year. We were able to use that survey to help us qualify for a community development block grant application. We're working with the East Tennessee Development District to identify eligible projects. One project in particular that we're looking at because of the identified high need. If you recall, back during last year's budget process, the largest ticket item in the 5-year CIP was a new fire truck. And we believe that a new fire truck to be community development block grant eligible. So we would like to put forth an application along those lines. Or at least that's the staff recommendation at this point.
I think it's good to be looking ahead. You know that's coming up, right, Chief? I mean, it's one of
There would be, we did the income surveys. Another step in the process is a public hearing, and we'd like to schedule that the final Monday of this month.
Okay.
Be immediately prior to the OUB, the public meeting.
Okay. Any questions about that? I think that's smart to be looking ahead and start that application process. Okay, next item on the agenda is the TDOT Riverfront TAP grant.
Yes, you all recall the Riverwalk grant from TDOT that was awarded to us this past year. We're in the process of acquiring the engineering and design, which you budgeted this past year from Courthouse Square dollars. In getting into that process and talking specifically about the topography under the Highway 11 bridge, as well as certain challenges that would be created if we were to go the Marina route there at the confluence of Sticky Creek in the Tennessee. We identified a possible need for pedestrian bridges, and they're not inexpensive. And we went with Mr. Quall's help. He's a former TDOT employee, and can you talk about your conversation with me?
Yes, so as our meeting with TDOT in regards to this grant, it was brought to our attention that there was some additional funds that may be possible for us to go after to actually expand the scope of these services onto the other side of the bridge. And so with that, we were encouraged to apply for another $1 million grant for phase 2. And so partnered with the East Tennessee Development District again and submitted a grant, an additional grant for another $1 million. We'll have to have defined terminus on the trails, the trailheads. And so we look at putting that underneath the bridge And so by going with a phase one and a phase two, like Mr. Ross said, these pedestrian bridges are not cheap, and so this will give us the flexibility to move this project on a grander scale.
So you're basically looking at the two sides of the bridge.
Think of the
It's
bridge.
Project 1 and Project 2.
In terms of documentation that would come before you, you have an existing grant award and contract with TDOT for the $1 million. In applying for this additional $1 million, TDOT is asking we break up the $2 million into phase 1 and phase 2. So before you will be a contract amendment identifying the previous grant as phase 1.
Okay.
And think of these dollars as construction dollars. So they're not, these grant dollars will not fund your engineering costs, only funds bricks and mortar in construction.
Is this a 80-20 grant as well, the way it's structured?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so will we need to take some action on that Monday night?
It will come to you in the form of an amendment to your prior agreement to dub it phase 1.
Okay.
Basically, we just shortened the terminus,
Yeah.
because we went from having it the whole length of the
Whole length,
river,
yeah.
just underneath the bridge. We had to have a defined trailhead.
So you basically just picked underneath the bridge, and that's going to be one side. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, thank you. Next item is TDOT, Mulberry Street right of way, and this is something that's been, Councilman James may remember, we brought this up when we first got elected, I think, 2014. Mayor Greenlee may remember. We submitted this, and it's now coming to forefront.
Yes, this project predates me. It's a fantastic idea, and depicted on your screen is a rendering of what the final result will look like. And it will be a center turn lane, creating 3 lanes of traffic along Mulberry Street between the high school and the middle school. This is a definite bottleneck in mornings and afternoons, and will help traffic move more readily and more safely through Loudon.
And I think, one of the objectives was to the safety of that pulling out right there in front of Mr. Brewster's place. It's when you've got someone in that turn lane turned into the school and someone coming towards the school, they're almost head on.
When a road gets bigger, additional lane is needed. And that's called right-of-way. And the impact on the city of Loudon is at the park located there. And that's where the swimming pool and tennis courts are located. And along this very long strip of land, which totals about a half acre, the Tennessee Department of Transportation needed conveyance from the city of Loudon in order to facilitate that. And staff recommendation with this body enter into a donation with TDOT in order to move this project along.
I think it's something we ought to strongly consider. This is I think Director Qualls, I think it's 100% funded by.
Yes, this is safety dollars that TDOT is looking to spend. Just for informational purposes, we did try to reach out to TDOT about installing the sidewalk path. This funding did not have that eligible criteria to put in the sidewalk. They encouraged us to go back and go after a mobile grant at some point to install a sidewalk.
I asked Director Qualls if we couldn't, extend that sidewalk out. Director Harrell can probably tell a lot of kids walk to the pool, and it would be good to have a sidewalk extended on out there, even if we have to go another avenue to try to get it. I think it'd be beneficial for us to look at that down the road, if we could get another grant or something to accomplish that. But what would be required to do is donate this property to TDOT to move this project forward. And also, I think the county also has a little section there too, that schools have, the school.
3,000 square feet.
Yes.
So we'll have to approve that as well.
So we've already assembled the paperwork, and we'll have that before you for your approval at your regular meeting.
Okay. Everybody clear on what we're talking about? As I say, this has been long overdue. We're just very fortunate that it's not been any tragic accident there yet. But a lot of traffic going through there, especially with the two businesses that's located on the left-hand side of the road there too.
That highway's been that way since the sixties.
All right.
You'll see a change.
Next item on the agenda is credit card account.
Yes, our finance director, Nicole Curtis, looked at our credit card options with our bank and has done a lot of work on this and even discovered the lack of a credit card policy. So she'll be addressing a couple of items with you tonight related to credit cards.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. The existing credit card account we have for both the city and the utilities has outgrown its lifespan. We use 8 credit cards between all the city staff to make purchases, for travel, training, and such. And we run into several different scenarios regarding fraud protection, card availability, credit limits, and even reporting. And this new agreement, this new credit card account will help tremendously in all of those areas. And as Manager Ross mentioned, with this, we're putting forward an official credit card policy that each authorized user of a credit card would sign off on before being issued a credit card.
I think it's good. It's good policy. Going in the right direction. She also presented the same policy to the utility board. Any questions for Nicole, or Manager Ross?
Good find on credit card policy.
The what?
So we're good find on
Yeah.
credit card policy.
Okay. So that was credit card account and credit card policies, both those covered.
For your regular meeting, we'll bring you the new credit card agreement as well as a credit card policy for your approval.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is surplus vehicles by the police department.
Yes, Chief Webb and his department was secured from this council in the budget 2 patrol vehicles, one from the general fund, another from the drug fund. And as we move these vehicles into the fleet, they'll be replacing 2 old vehicles that Chief Webb desires to have declared surplus.
So we just need approval to put them on gov deals, I guess that's what your plan is, Chief? Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, we'll see that on the agenda. Next item is section 125 cafeteria plan. Director Brown, you gonna?
Yes, sir. This is a program that's been in place since 2009. It's our AFLAG and Allstate insurance supplement that's made for our employees. And this is a pre-tax deduction, so it requires your approval through the IRS.
Yeah, it's something we do every year. Takes our approval to do that. Any questions about that? Okay, we'll see that on the agenda. Next item is meeting room construction.
Yes, as you can see,
The office.
we're a work in progress on improvements. I want to thank Councilman Brewster and Chairman Campbell for their assistance on this project. We've gotten a lot of input and leadership from them, and we hope to have this complete and fully improved by the end of the year.
Thank you. It'll be much better, I think, once it gets, it'll be nice. Last item on the items for consideration is the Christmas dinner.
I don't know if you received the date yet, but if not, please know it's December 11th. It'll be held at the same facility as in the past, which is the Masonic Lodge on Marymount, and already looking forward to it.
Better get there early. Yeah. Okay, next item on the agenda is other. Any, Councilman Bibbins, you have anything?
We are having a sanitation committee meeting tomorrow night. Don't have any other information on that. I would like for the council to consider, and for us to look into, if you could look into this too. City and utilities are getting bigger and bigger. We're getting further and further along. And our budgets are coming up very soon. I think it's time for us to look into splitting a city manager and utility manager position. The reason I say budgets is because we do pay a small portion of Ty's salary, so we would have to figure out something on that. I don't know if that's gonna take changes to our charter, I'm not sure on that. I don't think that it says they have to be one person. But that's just something we need to look into. City's getting bigger, we're getting bigger projects, utilities is growing. I know this was something that we looked into when we were looking for a city manager last time.
Yeah,
Don't
it was
think that we have.
discussed, yeah, it was
Yeah.
discussed.
So I just think that's something we need to bring back around to the table,
Okay,
if there's any interest in it.
okay, anything else? Okay. And the solid waste commission meeting, it's at the annex?
It's, yes,
Okay. Just wanna make sure it wasn't
yeah.
at
it's
county
okay.
office, it's at annex,
I don't
okay,
think there's any conflicts this time around, so.
okay.
Do they have the final contract ready for us to look at?
We're working on it.
Okay,
It's very, very near to hammering out the legal details of it right now.
they did invite all three stakeholders to, the mayors to be
Yes.
there, so,
Yep, they want to talk about the Poplar Springs, division, responsibility, kind of where we stand on that right now. It's a little confusing on the process, so we just want to clear it up with everybody there and talk about it.
okay. Councilmember Brewster, you have anything?
I realize we're all about saving money, and I know utilities are doing a lot of in-house contracting. The paper I passed out, corporations, as they get bigger, they have people that's been there 25 or 30 years, and they're on the fence whether they're thinking about retiring or not. So what I'm trying to propose, and it'd be hard for me to explain, what I passed out was just 4 of the 15 people that's eligible for retirement, and the replacement cost of that person. So in large corporations, and I know we're not a corporation, but we're close, normally you give an incentive. If a person's riding that fence, you kind of give them an incentive to go ahead and cross the fence. So the range of salaries I gave you is what we're paying now and what it would cost to replace that person. And I'll give you a good example. A basic LED plant operator, current salary is $68,355. The replacement cost of that would be $49,587. So what I would like to see this city and Pino and his board is maybe put up an incentive, and I'm thinking in the neighborhood of $10,000. If you want to go ahead and retire between now and January the 15th, we'll throw in an extra $10,000. But the savings coming back to the city, just on the 4 I have, in 2.5 years, which that's how long it takes a person to top out, we would save $159,562.50. So it may look like a lot of money up front, but the savings is tremendous. And the 15 we have eligible now, hypothetically, if all 15 retired today and we gave them $10,000, our gain on that would be $1,755,185. So if you look at the big picture versus the small $10,000 picture, if we could consider doing this, we're going to save a ton of money.
I guess my question would be, what if they take their time week at a time? If they retire and then they just take their weekly salary?
Yeah.
We're not really saving anything because we're also paying the replacement. The replacement, we're paying them a week too. The only way we'd save is if we wrote them a check and paid them off, I guess. That's what I'm confused on.
I think that's kind of how this plan would work.
You just about have to do it that way.
When
Right.
you're done, you're done.
Yeah, so they
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to draw their,
wouldn't be on the payroll.
for a year.
Yeah.
Because you'd have their weekly salary plus the new person that's replaced them salary.
No, it couldn't work that way.
Right. Because you wouldn't be saving
The
anything.
day they retire, we pay them for their sick days, vacation days, and throw a $10,000 bond.
And then they're off the books.
They're done.
Okay, you have any questions?
And this is a one time, this isn't every year, right?
No,
This is
it
a,
wouldn't be every year, because it would,
this is to assist with what
one-time deal.
was happening in the past.
Just I mean, 5 years from now, you might say, well, I'll do it again, but.
And it wouldn't be anything that someone would be pressured into, it'd just be
No,
their
it's option,
decision.
it's option, if you wanna do it, do it, if you don't. We just got some people that's there and they're leaning on the fence, and this could persuade them to go ahead and pay it, and you could save a ton of money.
Any more discussion?
My numbers are pretty accurate. I got with Jason on the numbers. Just think about it.
Okay. All right, he's handed this out, so I think it's something that everybody could take home and study about, think about it. Then,
So how would, it wouldn't be a policy,
No.
just be a
it's already about that,
resolution.
I guess.
Okay.
Big, simple resolution, take care of it.
But it would, basically, we could only pass it for the city employees. The
Yeah, I'm
board-
saying,
The
we
board
work
would have
with
to
Pino
pass it
and
for
his
them.
group, too. But they're out to save more money.
Yeah, they got more
We
employees.
got more employees.
That's-
I think the city only has 2 or 3 that would fall in that window, the rest of it's on Pino.
Mhm. Okay. Well, feel free, I'm sure, to contact Councilman Brewster if you think about it, have other questions, I'm sure.
Call Jason Brown.
I mean, it is a policy, it's a common practice that, corporations do. It's something that could certainly be an incentive that's put together as a package if someone wants to take advantage of that, they'd have the opportunity to do that. Okay? Anything else?
I got one more thing. Politics is rough business. And, I don't know about this, but we have to give our city manager some kind of security in his job. I know it's hell coming to work every day, thinking you might pee off a city councilman and be fired. So what I think we need to do is give Pino and his group and come up with some kind of contract for a city manager, because he can't completely do his job going around worried if he's gonna get fired or not. So if we could form some kind of committee, a couple of people from utilities, an outsider, and some people from Pino's board, get together and work on some kind of contract. And I'm thinking if we could get one in effect by January 1st, and I'm thinking 3 years. Our term will be up 3 years this month. The next council comes on board, they have 2 years to negotiate a new contract with the city manager, which is plenty of time, and we keep it on board.
You mean 2 months, not 2 years?
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah. I've had this discussion with Manager Ross, and he's certainly he's open to whatever the council wants to do. I do think that it's something we step in the right direction to have a contract. He's certainly not gonna lead the charge for that, as you could expect, but
My concern is with what I mentioned a while ago, city and utilities are coming in conflict with policies and everything else. And he's in the middle of it. He's got to answer for us, and he's got to answer for
Yeah.
utilities.
And it's great.
And let's face it, utilities pay more money, he's more loyal to them. He should be. I
I
mean,
would be.
if we fire him, that's one thing, if you fire him, it's another.
I
But either way we go, he's gotta have some kind of contract, job security.
agree. But it's also something that MTAS could help us with, and our attorney Fry could help us with, so it's certainly something we could form a committee, member, some people from here, some people from Pino's board, the LUB board, and Attorney Fry, get some input from MTAS on that as well. So, Any questions about that? Is everybody okay with that?
I think it's something we need to look into.
Chief Johnny?
I think definitely we need to do it.
Okay.
Should have already started doing it myself, I think.
Okay, all right, well, we'll proceed down that path. Okay, anything else? Councilman Brewster?
And as far as Tammy, what Tammy was talking about, splitting it up, if Ty feels like he's getting overwhelmed with utilities, and I know he is, because they have so much going on, he can tell us that we could have somebody in-house take some of his workload off. Make the mayor do more work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we'd all agree, he does an outstanding job with,
He knows
what
what
he's
he's
responsible for.
so much.
Sure.
We're getting big.
Vice Mayor Dixon, you have anything?
I'm good.
Councilmember James?
Yeah, just one thing I thought about, and, you know, we don't, in the city of Loudon, we don't have a hotel motel tax. And not an amusement tax. And I'm saying that sometime or another, we probably need to look at implementing both of them over a period of time. And of course, Mark would say, well, you know, that may affect something. I'm like, it's not the amusement tax would be for entrepreneurs who come to the park just to make money for themselves. Like if you're having an event down there, it doesn't qualify for that. But like the pickle festival, or the rodeo, or whatever have you, that was strictly for the benefit of one or two people. And what we got out of the rodeo for the use of the park really wouldn't pay the bill for the cleanup, bottom line. And we just need to look at that because we've got a nice facility and it's gonna be nicer. And at some point in time, we need to look at some kind of an amusement tax for events that are there, because people will be coming, they'll be wanting to do that. And I think we just need to sit down, discuss it. It's not a big rush, but I think it's something we need to look at, because you go to Knoxville, Garth Brooks concerts, that's the example. I mean, there's no telling how many millions of dollars are gonna rake in right there. You know, and you know, it's not above happening here, it's not. So we need to look at it, I'm telling you. It's just too late to do it after the fact, because you can't do that. And I just think we need to sit down sometime or another and work out some things, and implement them in the case that, you know, it comes to reality someday. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, thank you. Manager Ross, you have anything else?
Just some sunshine from our parks. We were discussing our parks earlier, and, you know, this council appropriated funding for paving, Commerce, Karting Machine, and others. And we recently completed paving of the parking lots at Municipal Park. And just for the benefit of the audience, we've got some slides here showing just that. Great project, Mark Carroll. Great project, Ellis Scruggs. Appreciate all your assistance with it.
Anything else? Manager Ross, you have anything else?
No, sir.
Just FYI, they've started moving dirt for a new subdivision out here behind Bojangles. Gonna move pretty quick now.
Yeah, the first phase is, I think, 31 homes, and hopefully when we get to 100, when all the phases are complete. So that's the plan. Any of the department heads have anything to bring up? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.